One of the most frustrating things when it comes to the online conversation, particularly on social media when it comes to business, is when people go off talking about passive income. People talk about TikTok shop, people talk about affiliate marketing, they talk about SaaS, they talk about all of these different business models. And while you can make money for them, there is nothing passive about them. But fortunately, there is an even better business model that is so lucrative that I believe, or in my opinion, is definitely the most underrated business model of 2025 and probably into 2026 as well. It's got lower startup costs, lower overhead, higher margins, and a ton of flexibility. And the best part is you can run it from anywhere. But before we get more into it, my name is Chris. I have built and sold two businesses. One, I got up to $100,000 a month. I am currently on business number three, and that is Strictly. We just crossed $30,000 a month. We were at only $13,000 monthly recurring revenue just a few months ago. So I love building bootstrapped lifestyle businesses, low startup costs, high margin, and preferably low competition, although that is not always the case. But if you get value out of this video, if you could please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all of that crap that YouTubers typically ask their viewers to do. And with that said, let's get into it. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about starting your own business. I'm going to walk you through the ins and outs of the business model itself and walk you through step by step on how you can build one of these businesses yourself. And at the very end, I'm going to give you some of the best business models you can go with in the year 2025. So you may be wondering what business model I'm talking about, and that makes sense. So the business model I'm referring to is what we call the productized service business. Now, it gets its name because it's where you basically take a typical service business and you productize it in the sense that you make it so systemized and so automated, and you organize it into individual packages that it allows people to buy it online as if it were a product. So there's a lot of different benefits of having a productized service business. You get a lot of the benefits of something like a SaaS business. It's virtual, it's high margin, low overhead, but you also get a lot of the benefits of a service business, lower competition. You don't have to pay for expensive developers, and you don't need to get venture capital funding. So because of this, there is a much lower barrier to entry versus something like software as a service, in that you don't have to be a programmer yourself, you don't have to hire any programmers, and so the startup costs as a result are a lot lower. Now, the thing about SaaS businesses is while they may seem attractive, the startup costs are going to be incredibly high. There's so much competition that honestly, there really is no such thing as a pure SaaS company anymore, except for a few edge cases like you look at OpenAI and other revolutionary products like that. But for the most part, the majority of SaaS companies are adding services on top of their software or doing service like tasks in order to retain their customers. There's a lot of competition, and the competition is international. So you're competing not just with people in the US or in your home country, but you're also competing with people in India, people in the Philippines, all over the place. Again, unless you have a very complex or valuable SaaS, the cost per customer tends to be a lot lower, and so it takes a lot longer to get your money back from ad spend. And because of this, SaaS tends to be a more long-term play. It can oftentimes take a year, even 2 years to get to $10,000 a month, and that's if you're working relatively hard. And contrast this with a productized service business where you can get to $10,000 a month in 90 days. So I will use us as an example. We started about a year and a half ago, and we just got to $30,000 in monthly recurring revenue. I think we're actually going to hit $35,000 by the end of the month. We were at $13,000 at the beginning of this year. Well, actually about April of this year, and now we are at over 30,000. So you can get pretty fast growth doing the productized service model, and I'm going to let you know why I'm a big fan of it. Now, in our case, we do have our own custom software, but we have been selling services the entire time, since even before our software existed. And so if possible, even if you do want to build a SaaS company, I usually will tell people if they can sell it as a service first, That's the best way you do it because you can build demand and you can get an idea of what your customers' pain points really are. So now I'm going to compare a productized service to a more customized service model or a boutique agency. Businesses where every customer is different, where they're building packages custom and sending proposals to every single customer. There's a lot of downsides to having a custom service agency or provider or a boutique agency. I will use a marketing agency as an example. So there was a boutique marketing agency. They were doing about $10 million a year. I met the guy, and they were actually making, each of the owners were making less money than me and my wife were. And they were doing 10 million a year. We were only doing a few hundred thousand. And that's because custom service providers tend to have much lower margins, higher overhead, more demanding clients. You do get the benefit of more revenue per customer, but in my experience, it's typically not worth it. Now, with a productized service, instead of custom quoting every single product, you have pre-built packages that you can sell and people can just buy. And so because of this, you don't have to send out custom proposals. It's much more scalable. You can build out processes much easier, and you're really focusing on a few different products or one product for a very specific buyer. Okay, so you want to build a productized service business. What's the first step? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to figure out who you are selling to. So with this, I typically recommend that you find a specific niche to focus on or a specific industry. Most of these are going to be B2B, and that's totally fine. I actually recommend selling to businesses. It's a lot more lucrative and a lot less headache, but you don't have to. So that's why I say niche or industry. But in most cases, you are going to be selling to businesses. Now, there's four main criteria when picking a good industry to go with. When you're figuring out what type of business do I want to sell to, who exactly do I want to target? So the first thing is that you want to make sure that they are profitable enough that these types of businesses can actually afford the services that you want to sell. That's very important. Number two is you want to calculate your total addressable market or TAM. So this will involve figuring out how many of these businesses in this industry there are, and you basically multiply the expected annual revenue per client times the total amount of businesses in your target area. So whether that is in your country, in the United States, or worldwide. Number three is optional, but preferably you're going to want to pick a business that you have some kind of knowledge or experience in, because this helps you to speak your customer's language. You already have some kind of knowledge about it, so you know somewhat of the ins and outs, at least, of the type of business you're going after. And this helps you with the next steps when you're actually figuring out what kind of pain points you're solving, what problem you're solving, what you're going to actually be selling to them. Number four, this is even more optional. It's even best if you can pick a business or industry that you are passionate about. So, for example, I went through a lot of chronic health issues a while back, still kind of am. And my saving grace when I was going through all of this, what got me out of it and got me better was three industries. It was chiropractic, physical therapy, and functional medicine. So when we were rebranding our marketing agency, it was natural for us to focus on those three industries because I was so passionate about it. I had a lot of knowledge about it. I could speak their language. That helped me a lot during sales. But then also what helped me during sales was the fact that they could sense how passionate I was about their industry. Now, I know that's not an option for everyone, but I thought I would include it because it is really important if there is a specific industry or type of business that you want to go after. Now that you know who you're going to be selling to, step number two is to figure out what you are actually selling. What is your offer? What service are you providing? So the best way to go about this, from my recommendation, if you don't already have something in mind, imagine the industry or the business type that you are going after and think, what does virtually every single person who owns one of these businesses struggle with on a day-to-day basis? Now, this may be struggling with consistent leads. They always need more leads, or their business is inconsistent. This may be that they spend a lot of time on repetitive, irrelevant tasks, or they get a lot of dumb questions. Whatever it is, this is what you are going to want to think about because it's extremely important. At the end of the day, your service is designed to solve a pain point that is specific to this industry. And the benefit of going after a niche is that you can customize your service to that industry. Now, when doing this, there's a few different ways you can go about it. If you don't already have this in mind, conducting interviews with people in your industry can be a huge help. We call this customer discovery. And so basically you conduct interviews, you ask them questions, what problems do you have, and you try to look for any patterns between the businesses that you interview. Just keep in mind, if you pitch a solution to them and they say, yeah, I'd buy that, Don't pay any attention to it. People say stuff like that all the time. The only validation that people are actually going to buy your service is when they actually pay money. The other option you can go with, and this does take a little bit of money, $1 or $2,000, is you can test out a few different offers. So you can create a few different landing pages for different offers, and you can run Facebook ads and just see what kind of bites you get. You can compare them side by side and see which offer got the most interest. And this should be a pretty good indicator of what the demand is for the service you're thinking of offering. To give an example of how you can customize a generic service for a specific business, think about this. So say I am offering chatbots. What I could do is I could either select a chatbot or customize a chatbot and put it into some kind of template with pre-built integrations specific to the common software used in this specific industry. So if I'm building chatbots for dentists, I could do one that integrates with all of the practice management softwares that are popular for dentistry offices. In the beginning, I highly recommend, if possible, that you focus on one service. And the reason for this is that it's hard enough to get a business off the ground at all. So if you have a bunch of different services or a bunch of different offerings, it can definitely complicate the fulfillment process. Okay, so you figured out what service you're going to be offering, what you're selling, who you're going to be selling to. The next part, and this is important, especially if you have a lot of competition offering the same thing to the same people, you're going to want to figure out what is called your unique mechanism and your value proposition. The easiest way to explain it is your unique mechanism is the thing that makes you special and sets you apart from everybody else, all of the other options out there. Your value proposition is the value that is provided by your unique mechanism. So another way of saying it would be your unique mechanism is that thing that makes you special. Your value proposition is the end result. In our case, our unique mechanism would be we sell conversational AI websites. Our value proposition would be that customers get 283% more leads or appointments without spending more money on marketing. Now, for the easiest way to identify what your unique mechanism and value proposition is, I use the following AI prompt, and you can put this into Grok, ChatGPT, Anthropic. There's a few different options out there, but this is the prompt. You are an AI market analyzer and ad writer. Your job is to conduct market research for the following industry blank. You will thoroughly research the target audience, service, and competition and come up with a contrarian marketing strategy, unique mechanism, value proposition, and 3 short ad copy examples. The ad copy should follow the problem, promise, proof, process framework. Deliverables will be identify our unique mechanism that separates our service and makes it irresistible. Identify our marketing position. Write a value proposition, create 3 short ads following the above framework, create an irresistible offer that sets us apart from all of the largest competitors. Info about our business will be below, target industry, target business info, and the service provided. Okay, so you figured out who you're going to be selling to, what you're going to be selling, you know what value you are providing and what makes you unique. Now you're going to have to figure out your pricing. So for a lot of people, they can really get hung up on this, but I encourage you not to overthink this because while it can technically make or break your business, I don't want to create too much pressure. You can always start small and then just build up and slowly increase your pricing as you get busier. So it's totally okay to start off smaller, but the main thing is you want to make sure that you're not losing money. And so we're going to go through that. So to figure out your pricing, the first thing you're going to want to do is look at your competition. Figure out who is selling a similar solution to the same audience and see what they're charging. Now, if they don't publish what they charge publicly, and this is a little bit shady, but you can always give them a call just pretending to be an interested customer and they will give you an idea of what they are charging. Now, the other thing when figuring out your pricing is you're gonna wanna estimate what your expenses are. Now, this includes both your costs of fulfillment and your overall overhead costs, your net operating costs. So the most important numbers to keep in mind when figuring out what you should charge are what's called your gross margin and your net margin. So your gross margin is going to essentially be the amount of money you charge minus the cost of delivering that service. So, for example, if I sell somebody a website for $2,500 and it costs me $500 to hire a partner to build it, my gross margins will be 80% or $2,000. Now, your net margins are your total margins, so after all expenses. So, this includes all operating costs, payroll, rent, everything. So, with the same example, if I do $50,000 in revenue at 80%, my gross profit would be $40,000. Now, if I have $10,000 in payroll, rent, software subscriptions, and marketing or any other expenses, then my net margins are going to be $30,000 or 60%. So now that you've done everything else, you know who you're going to be selling to, what you're going to be selling, what value you're providing, and what your pricing is. Now you got to figure out your fulfillment process. Now, you don't have to do this right away. This could also be done after you've gotten some sales. In fact, I kind of recommend doing that, but it's still a good idea to have some kind of idea of what your fulfillment process is going to be. You want to make sure that if you don't know how to do it, then you have somebody who can do it. And I do recommend, once you do get customers, building out these processes as early as possible. Now, the reason for this is that, well, I didn't do that. And I ended up procrastinating it because I was doing myself and there was no reason to. And when we started adding employees, it got really, really complicated. Now, the very first step in doing this is you're going to want to write up some SOPs, or standard operating procedures. So these are basically your written processes, your documented processes that lay out exactly how each part of the fulfillment process will go. You can either do this yourself, or you can pay a virtual assistant to do this, or and we'll get into this in a little bit, if you outsource the fulfillment completely, you don't even have to worry about it at all. So when it comes to delegating or using the help of other people to fulfill the service that you're offering, you really have 3 total tools to do this. The first one is my favorite, and I always try to use this as much as possible, but that's going to be AI and automation software. 2 is overseas or domestic staff, and 3 is going to be third-party companies, agencies, or outsourcing partners. One of the benefits of using either foreign or domestic labor or employees is that you get fixed, predictable costs, and the cost of fulfillment typically is cheaper than option number 3. But the benefit to using an agency and just outsourcing the entire process is that you don't have to deal with anything. They manage the people, they handle the standard operating procedures, they handle everything. So it's a lot easier, and you only have to pay when you make a sale typically. Each one has its own pros and cons, and you're really going to have to make a decision based on what is best for you. Now, in our agency, we historically have used all 3 in some capacity. We use AI automation software as much as possible. Then what can't be done by AI, we use our internal staff. And then for services that we really would rather not worry about, we outsource to third parties so that we don't have to turn that business away, especially if it's something that people are commonly requesting in conjunction with our primary service. So an example of this kind of situation is like we sell conversational websites. I mentioned that before, but since a conversational website doesn't actually get you any traffic, and a lot of people don't have any traffic, a lot of people need that service. And so when it comes to marketing, when it comes to ad management, SEO, that's the part that we typically will outsource to other third-party agencies. So now we are at the fun part. We are going to go over what software you can use to run your business. Now, believe it or not, there are actually software out there specifically for productized service providers. So we're going to go over those as well as a few other really good options. Now, software number 1 is Service Provider Pro. These guys have been around for a while. They're really good, especially if you have a very simple, straightforward delivery process. You don't have a lot of tasks or a lot of switching from person to person or assignee. This can be a really good option. People commonly will use it in the SEO industry for things like link building agencies and other similar single SEO individual services. So this can be a really good option for a lot of people. Number 2 would be Q. And this is another great option. They are newer, but for productized services. Now, Q is really good because they have a lot of different features. It's really an all-in-one software. They have things like time tracking, they have task management, they have forms for your clients to fill out. So they really do a lot and they have a lot of features available. One of the other things I like about Q is the white label capability, and it's relatively affordable. So these are all some of the reasons why we use this ourselves. Number 3 is Assembly, formerly known as Copilot. Now, this is another great option specifically for client portals. So if you have a need, like if you're a marketing provider or you're an SEO agency and you need a client portal to show people, I don't know, their rankings or their traffic or some other type of stats. Now, this is included with the other 2 options I listed previously, but they do take it a little bit further. So if you really have a need for a custom client portal, this is really good. Now, if you do choose to use this, you might want to consider using a different project management software. ClickUp is another really great option that works really well. In ClickUp, you can create task, project templates. This can really streamline everything, and they have an API if you want to use it for automations. The other 2 may not specifically be related to productized services, but I couldn't go this video without mentioning Go High Level. Now, Go High Level is a really great all-in-one marketing automation software. It's incredibly popular in the agency world. You can do pretty much anything with it, from automations to CRM to email marketing, text message marketing, social media management, ad management. I mean, there is a ton you can do with this. Overall, for the money, it is really, really awesome because it's $500 a month, and that's for unlimited clients. You can white label this and you can resell it to your clients for as much as you want. Your profit margins when reselling Go High Level can be pretty high. Finally, we have our own software, Strictly.ai. Now, this is really good for chatbots. We do use it ourselves and for all of our clients. Obviously, this is a shameless plug, but one of the benefits of Strictly.ai is that it converts at a rate of 3 times higher than most other chatbots, and there's a few different reasons for this. The main one is the user interface. The visual and interactive nature of it makes it a really good choice if you want to have a chatbot specifically for generating leads. Now, at our agency, we use Q, Go High Level, and Strictly.ai. We do use other software, and if you want a full list of all the software we use and the recommendations we have, you can always subscribe to my newsletter. I left a link in the description. Now that we've gone over all of these different items, the next thing you're going to need is, and you're probably not expecting this, a mindset shift. Mindset is incredibly important because a lot of people go into starting one of these businesses with the idea that they're going to get rich quick. Now, while you can get rich quick, it really depends on what your definition of quick is. For example, we got to $30,000 a month on our business in a little over a year. I will say that's not typically the norm. It's not the fastest growth that anybody's ever seen. It is above average. This is the first business you are going to be building. You're going to want to be patient. So be in it for the long haul. Don't think about, oh, if I don't get a bunch of customers within the first 3 months, I'm just going to give up. Stay focused, persevere, and don't give up. Keep trying different offers, keep trying different ads. If you stick with it, I promise you, you will eventually get customers. And if you work hard, there's a pretty good chance you could be making $20,000 a month in mostly passive income by this time next year. So now that we got that out of the way, I'm going to take you through a very good realistic example of what a productized service business can look like. In this example, we are going to say we are selling Chatbot as a service for $150 a month with a $500 setup fee. Now we're going to sell it as a managed service, and this is going to increase the perceived value for the customer because completely done for you service. It's not a software as a service. So in our offer, we are going to train it for the customer. We're going to install it. Then we're going to do updates as needed. When the chatbot is not able to answer a question with its existing knowledge, we're going to send a monthly email to the customer with a list of questions that went unanswered. And then we're going to retrain it every single month on their behalf. Now, the cool thing about this is that you can actually set up an automation for this. So you can automate it each month to grab all of the questions for that month that went unanswered, put it into a spreadsheet, then automatically send an email with that spreadsheet to the customer. And as a bonus, you can even have it automatically update the chatbot once they update the spreadsheet if you can set it up properly. So since it automatically sends all of the unanswered questions and the customer fills it out and then it automatically updates it, yes, you heard that right. The entire monthly process is completely automated, but keep in mind, it still is a done for you service. It's just automated and done by AI. So while there is manual setup in the beginning, once you're done with that, the managed service that you're charging $150 a month for is completely done on autopilot and extremely profitable. The only labor you're really going to need is you're going to need a person that is available to handle the customer service requests if they have any questions themselves. And even though the monthly service is 100% automated, because it still is done for you, it's going to be sold as a managed service. Here is how some of the economics can work out. So if I land 10 customers every single month, I'll be collecting $5,000 in setup fees, and the monthly recurring revenue will be growing by $1,500 each month. Month one will be $6,500, month two will be $8,000, and month three will be $9,500. So you can see how even selling a relatively modest amount of 10 every single month, it can add up really, really fast. Now I am going to cover some of the best, most lucrative productized service business models that you can do in 2025. Number one would be the website as a service business model. Now this one is actually kind of old, but it still works incredibly well. And with AI technology that's available today, it can be extremely, extremely lucrative. So the website as a service business model is you sell a website to new or existing businesses that want a redesign, and you sell it to them with little to no upfront costs. You simply can charge a flat monthly fee, and this works especially if you can build the sites with AI, and you can include in the monthly fee all managed updates within reason. Now you can sell this for something like $195 a month, and trust me, I've done it before. And you can also get them on upsells for things like on-page SEO, directory listings, AI chatbots, analytics, and others. The next one is AI SEO or AIO or GEO. I don't know what term people have settled on, but basically it is just like search engine optimization for Google, but you're also going to be optimizing people to rank on ChatGPT, Perplexity, and other AI search engines. Now with this, you can actually outsource it 100%, and it's pretty lucrative because, believe it or not, a lot of companies are still not offering this. But effectively, what you are doing is you're helping businesses show up on all of those AI search engines I just mentioned. Now this can be priced starting at $9.95 a month, so this can add up pretty freaking fast. Option number three would be social media management. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically where you are posting on your client's social media page or pages. Now, what's good about this model is you can have all of the post content generated by AI and only use human labor when it comes to quality control, oversight, making sure it didn't make any mistakes, and making sure that the content actually makes sense for the customer. So this is one of those where it can be 80% automated by AI. And in addition to the social media posting, you can also offer things like reputation management, comment replies. This you can price pretty easily starting at $500 a month or more. Now, the next one I already kind of went over, but is chatbot as a service. This is individual chatbots to businesses like ChatGPT, but for their specific business. It'll be custom trained on their business's data and information, and you could handle everything for them. The way this is set up is pretty easy. The setup can be done in 15-20 minutes, and you can charge something like $150 a month for the initial setup and managed updates. Number five is a unique one, and it is our product, which is conversational websites. Now, this is our product, and the software version is coming soon, but I always say that conversational websites are like a website and a chatbot had a baby that was on steroids. A conversational website is basically an AI personalized and interactive website where the content is displayed and summarized through artificial intelligence. Now, what's good about this is nobody else is offering it. So if you chose to resell this, you would probably be the only one in your industry that's actually selling it. From my experience, since I've sold this personally, you can pretty easily command $1,500 to $2,000 plus $95 to $300 a month. Right now, it's pretty lucrative. So now I'm going to give you some really good tips on growing your business, acquiring new customers, and hacks on how you can grow faster. So, growth hack number one is going to be strategic partnerships. Now, this may be common sense to a lot of people, but a lot of people surprisingly don't make good use of this marketing channel. I'm going to go ahead and use conversational websites as an example. What I could do if I wanted to grow faster is instead of calling businesses directly to sell conversational websites to, I could call agencies who sell to businesses directly. So I can call them, give them some kind of pitch on how they can resell conversational websites instead of regular websites. And if you call the right people, it could potentially lead to 10, 20, or even hundreds of sales. Growth hack number two would be giving unreasonable commissions. We have done this a lot. It's really, really cool. So the idea behind this is, so say you are selling AI SEO for $1,000 or $1,500 a month. What you could do is, in exchange for referrals, you could offer people an unreasonably high commission for the referral. So what we have done in the past when we were an SEO agency is, if we had a $1,500 a month customer that we got as a referral, we would give $1,500 commission, so the entire first month of service. Now, this was really cool because it was high enough to where people got excited about it and it would really change their behavior. So we would get people that got addicted to giving us referrals because, I mean, for them, they just pass on a name and they could get $2,000, $3,000 in some cases. So it was super, super effective. People really loved it. Customers were happy. And that one works really, really well. Now, one of the ways, if you're thinking, well, I can't afford that, you can simply increase your pricing because referrals tend to be much easier to sell. That is an option too. Number three is not that creative, but if you're creative with it, you can do really well. And that is cold emails. Cold emails definitely still do work. If you're going to do cold emails, I recommend using AI to personalize every single email. My other recommendation would be to source the contacts of who you're going to be emailing manually. So don't buy an existing list because people are already doing that. Those people get spammed to death. But if you can source the emails manually and you can get creative with your messaging and you can use AI to personalize it, this can still be incredibly, incredibly effective. All right, so that was all of the growth hacks I have. But as I said, you do not need any gimmicky business models or passive income or anything like that to be incredibly successful and have an online business. Again, this productized service business is definitely the most underrated business model in 2025 because I see people who are in their 20s making $1 million a year, even $1 million a month. So people can do incredibly well with this. But at the end of the day, it's not just about money. It's about impact. It's about purpose, because without your purpose, none of this matters. But anyways, guys, that's all I got. If you want me to do a deep dive into how we run our own productized service, just let me know and we will definitely create that video. But thank you so much for watching. Again, if you got value out of this, like, subscribe, all of that crap, and I'll see you on the next one.